President Trump tonight taking a swipe at Dr. Deborah Birx, coordinator of the White House coronavirus response. The president apparently targeting Birx in a tweet for her response to criticism from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who questioned her credibility.
I think the president is spreading disinformation about the virus, and she is his appointee. So I don't have confidence there, no.
I have never been called Pollyannish or non-scientific or non-data driven. And I will stake my 40-year career on those fundamental principles of utilizing data to really implement better programs to save more lives.
In that same interview, Birx warned the coronavirus pandemic is extraordinarily widespread in the U.S. The president lashing out. In order to counter Nancy, Deborah took the bait and hit us. Pathetic. The president's Democratic rival, Joe Biden, weighing in. It's hard to believe this has to be said, but if I'm elected president, I'll spend my Monday mornings working with our nation's top experts to control this virus, not insulting them on Twitter. The tweet marks the latest instance of President Trump undercutting one of his administration's top health officials in the middle of a pandemic. But it's the first time he's publicly criticized Birx. All of it unfolding with the White House still unable to reach a deal on a new coronavirus relief plan to extend eviction protections and the $600 boost in unemployment benefits. White House officials holding another round of talks today with Democratic leaders on Capitol Hill.
It was productive. We're moving down the track. We still have our differences.
There's a new urgency to the negotiations, with some 30 million jobless Americans now left in limbo without that critical assistance.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.